another airport vlog. If you've been following the channel for a while, you'll know I used to do these quite a bit when I was traveling around, but it has been quite a while since I've done much traveling. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this vlog. So yeah, prior to the pandemic, I used to travel a lot, all over the world, teaching Qigong workshops and sometimes running retreats and things like that. But for the last, it's a little over 4 years, I have pretty much been stuck in New Zealand the whole time. And if you've been following the vlog for a while, you'll know that, actually immediately prior to the pandemic, I had left the country, I had left New Zealand, and I was actually relocating somewhere else in the world as part of my ongoing plans, sharing Qigong around the world. And it was right, well, kind of when I was in transit, because I left New Zealand. I'd packed up all my stuff, given things away, sold things, closed bank accounts, everything like that. And I stopped in Bali on the way to Europe, which is where I was going to be basing myself for a while. And on the day that I was due to leave Bali, that was the day that all the borders all around the world closed. Wow. So that really disrupted my plans quite a bit, and I had to go back to New Zealand. And then once in New Zealand, a few different things happened that have kept me here. And it's been a really challenging time. There's been a few different things that kept me here. And I won't go into the details of all of those, but yeah, it's been a challenging time and really disrupted those plans that I had. In fact, those plans even had already been delayed by a year at that point. So it was already delayed by a year. It's like, okay, see if I can get it back on track. And now it's 4 years more since then. So like 5 years delay in those plans. And so, yeah, the only time I've been out of the country since then is last year briefly. Some of you will have seen vlogs from there when I went across to Australia to Melbourne to take some workshops there. So that was really cool. I'll come back and talk about that a little bit more later. But now I'm finally I'm not exactly going back to the plans I had before, because a lot has changed in the world. A lot has changed. And given there's been a 5-year delay, those plans I had are pretty much not plans anymore. They're gone. And because I've been stuck in New Zealand for so long, I'm quite out of touch with a number of things around the world and how they're working, and particularly in terms of what I'm really wanting to do, which is to spread and teach Qigong. And that relates to things like venues for hosting retreats and trainings and things like that. So now I'm traveling again, but it's not with that same clear plan that I had previously. And this is a big adjustment for me, because that's always how I've been in the past. When I've traveled, I've always had a very clear, I know exactly where I'm going and why, what I'm going to be doing there. Sometimes I would have, I might be doing something like teaching 30 different workshops in 20 different cities in 11 different countries, and I'd have it all planned out, and I'd go do that. This time I'm leaving New Zealand, but it's more to reconnect, to see what's out there, and to lay groundwork for things in the future, to really, to get the lay of the land and to make plans for the future, which is very different. It's much more flexible than what I've done before, but a very different mindset behind it, which feels quite unusual to me. But yeah, the main plan is I'm wanting to go and to check out different venues and talk to people, who manage venues and so on, and check out the surrounding areas for hosting retreats, hosting trainings, live trainings in the future. For the last, even before the pandemic, I was teaching online, but then for the last 4 years I've been doing a lot more teaching online, almost entirely just online, with very little live teaching, a few bits and pieces here and there, but not very much. and I really want to get back to doing a lot more of that in different places around the world. So yeah, laying the groundwork for that. I had kind of hoped that that I might run a whole lot of retreats this year. There's sort of a few things I've sorted out so that I can travel again now. Some of the things that have been holding me in New Zealand, it's kind of largely all sorted out. There's a couple of things that aren't as sorted out as I'd like to be, but it's like, cool, I can get back into running retreats and trainings, but I don't feel ready to do that. I feel like I need to do some groundwork first. And yeah, so that's one of the things I'll be doing. Another thing, of course, is simply connecting with people, connecting with some of the people, who have done some of the online trainings, which is something I've done a lot of in the past as well. While people train with me online, I'd often meet up with them in different parts of the world and run workshops and things. And so I look forward to doing that on these travels. Don't have a lot of specific details planned yet, because again, the travel's very flexible, but looking forward to doing some of that. And there's another aspect to this as well, where I just feel like it's something I need to do, which is a little bit harder to say exactly why, but I feel like there is a lot more for me to do that will be best done internationally, from New Zealand, not just in New Zealand, but getting out into the world and connecting with people. And so like I said, a bit odd to not have a very clear structured plan. There are a few specific things that I know I'm doing. So one thing later on in the year is that there's a conference of the NQA, the National Qigong Association in the US, that I will be attending and presenting at. So that's in September. And also looking to do a short retreat around that time as well. So there'll be more details about that later on, still quite some time away. But then, a huge amount of flexibility until then. I said I'd come back to when I travelled to Melbourne last year. And so one of the things, because I did make some vlogs there, and so I probably talked about that in some of those vlogs. Yeah. It was interesting because it was just a short little trip. Done kind of short notice, but just getting out, teaching workshops again, being in a different place. In some ways I felt like there were glimpses of my old self. Sort of just a start. I was like, oh yeah, I remember what this feels like. And I think it is easy for everyone, and for myself, to have your perspective become quite closed in when you just get stuck doing the same thing in the same place for a long period of time. And I think that's, certainly been the case for me. I wasn't planning to be in New Zealand all this time. And look, I've been busy. It's not like I haven't been doing anything. I've been very busy with the online teaching of Qigong. But there's a lot more that I want to do, and I felt quite stuck in terms of not making any progress with that. And that little trip to Melbourne, it was like, some little glimpses. But it's easy to lose that again if you then go back into the same environment, and don't move forward. And so, this is finally moving forward, finally getting back out there again. Different because it's so unstructured, which will present some interesting opportunities. But we'll see what happens. I feel a little bit like Bilbo Baggins in the Hobbit, if you're familiar, when he sets out on his journey and he talks about it, and he says, you've got to be careful when you step out the door onto the road. If you don't keep your feet, you don't quite know where you'll be swept to. and that's it. There's a huge amount of flexibility in what I'm doing this time, and I don't quite know where I'm going to go some of the time. I'm going to see how it goes at the time, and hope that amongst that, I find some really good ways forward for me to continue to develop the Qigong teaching that I've been doing, and develop it even further and reach more people, teach in richer ways, and so on. So that's a little update. I guess that means there's probably going to be some interesting backgrounds in some of my vlogs over the next little while as I'm in different places. I'm not going to tell you where exactly I'm going to be first. I'll leave that maybe for the next vlog, and I look forward with maybe connecting with some of you over the next little while on my travels as well. All right, I look forward to seeing you on another vlog soon.